Hey y'all, Farmer Dre back at it. I'm out here in the strawberries, and in my last video, I had a few of you guys ask what type of grass I plant between these strawberry rows. I want to tell you guys that and the importance of having something growing between your plants. The thing I want to cover is why do we plant anything in between our strawberry rows here. You guys might have seen other farmers or videos on YouTube where other people don't do anything. They just leave it bare ground. If you guys see any of the commercial videos of strawberries out like in Florida and California, they don't plant anything between the rows there. They don't leave as much space, and just different growing methods down there. So the first thing is first, we are a U-pick operation, meaning we grow these plants, we grow the fruit, and then customers come out to our farm and they harvest the fruit for us for a U-pick. So they come out here, they pick the fruit, we provide the boxes, and then they go on with their day. And that's where the majority of our fruit that we grow here on our farm is aimed towards, is U-pick. So with having a U-pick operation, you need to create the most pleasant opportunity or the most pleasant experience possible for every single one of your customers. So having that in mind and knowing what our customer base is and knowing how we sell our product, that is the first thing that you got to know is, how am I going to get rid of my product and what I have to do to create the best experience for my customers. The reason we plant anything in between our strawberry beds is so that the families and the customers could come out to our farm and pick berries off the plants so they can have a nice, beautiful mat in between the rows, a nice grass sod in between the rows, so that in the spring, if it's raining, if it's muddy, they don't have to worry about the mud and the rain and the water because they're stepping on the grass instead of stepping on the bare dirt and just making a mess out here. So that is the main reason why we plant anything in between the rows. And you can see here the type of grass we plant grows really nice. It's very vigorous. It just grows a nice sod to fill in that space, and does pretty good. This grass was planted the same time as the strawberries, maybe a week earlier, because we lay down the plastic, then we go ahead and broadcast the seed, and then we go through and blower all of the seed off the plastic, and then we go ahead and transplant. So the grass has been here maybe a week earlier than the strawberries have. The second reason why you would like to plant or want to plant anything in between the rows is, first of all, or the second thing is soil erosion. So here in Southwest Missouri, we get about 44 inches on average of rainfall a year, mainly in the spring and in the fall. But in the spring, it starts raining March, April, May, part of June, it rains nonstop. So for us as farmers, we're not growing any more land, so we got to preserve the land we do have. And the biggest thing, if you have something actively grown in your soil will not erode and it'll stay there. And from a soil health perspective, having something actively growing and putting oxygen into the soil is much healthier for your soil than something not growing at all. So keeping the soil here and not letting it erode is one of the biggest things, because you can plant your strawberries, but if all your soil is gone in a couple years, all your good topsoil, then you got to be hauling dirt from the edges of your hills to be bringing dirt back to your fields. You might see other commercial strawberry farmers in the Midwest who do plant strawberries for commercial purposes, meaning they pick everything and they sell it wholesale through warehouses and whatnot. They also plant grass in between the rows, but they do come through here early spring and they do kill it off with a grass herbicide, so that whenever their pickers are out there, there's nothing actively growing in between the rows and they're just picking strawberries just for that soil erosion perspective. But yeah, you might see that on other operations. But now let me go ahead and tell you guys what type of grass we do plant. If you guys know anything about grasses, and I never studied grasses. Oh, I guess I did. When I was at Missouri State studying horticulture, I did take a turf science class. I didn't even know why I took it. It was just meant to be. I really enjoyed that professor who taught, and he teaches a lot of different classes. So I was like, you know what, this class with one of my favorite professors wasn't too bad, so let me just go ahead and take it. So I did learn all about growing grass and turf management and all this stuff, and who knew a few years down the road, I'm going to be planting grass in between my strawberry rows. So there's many different types of grasses you can plant. The main difference is between annual and perennial grasses, which perennial grasses live for many years. Annual grasses are one and done. You plant them once, they're done for. And of course, you have cool season grasses, and you have warm season grasses. You got C4 grasses, you got C3 grasses. And the biggest thing for us with the strawberries here, we got to plant the grass that will grow throughout the entire fall, throughout the whole winter, and pretty much be done in the spring about May. So the grass we did plant is annual rye grass. There's many different grasses, like I mentioned. Other farmers do use different types of grasses. I know of other farmers using perennial rye grass. I know other farmers who plant and sow tall fescue in between the rows. But the nice thing that I like about annual rye grass is it grows super fast. It's kind of a good and bad. One of the good, it grows super fast. It establishes really well, and it creates a nice mat. As you can see here, this annual ryegrass is growing beautifully. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. It's nice, soft, fluffy. It grows really quick. The only issue with this grass that I'd have to complain with is it grows way too fast, and you have to keep it mowed, especially in the spring. It just grows like crazy. It acclimates to the weather in the fall. It doesn't grow much in the winter underneath the row covers, but in the spring it grows like crazy. You know, that's good and bad. A good thing is whenever it grows really fast, it actually helps absorb some of the excess water that is in between the strawberry beds. And if you guys have ever been out to a strawberry field or a U-pick operation after it's rained, you got to take in consideration, and you probably realize that a lot of the water is sitting in between the beds just because more than half of the field here is covered with this plastic. So all the water that's supposed to go in that soil is drained off into the middle of the rows here. And of course, the water sits or runs to the end of the row here. But this grass is nice because it keeps the soil in place and it absorbs some of that water, and that's why it grows so fast. I remember last year, whenever we were mowing the annual ryegrass, well, we were mowing it once a week, and some weeks it grew over 8 inches. And it's crazy to see how fast it's growing, but that just means that it was just soaking up all that water and taking up all that water up. The only thing I got to complain about ryegrass or annual ryegrass is after a few weeks of stepping on the turf or stepping on top of the grass here, it does kind of deteriorate, and the grass does die after a while. But until, you know, that's just more towards the end of the season, and generally towards the end of the season, like in May, you know, if it dries up and it's not as wet as it is at the beginning of the season. I knew that I would be growing grass as well in between these strawberry rows here, and this is a very important task as well, because if you don't get your grass growing nicely, like I said, it's just a muddy mess in the spring, and nobody likes going out to a farm or anywhere and it's a muddy mess. So, you know, us being a U-pick operation, like I mentioned, we got to create that beautiful experience for every family, for every kid that comes out. Because if you create a nice experience for every kid, they're going to remember, you know what, we went to pick strawberries at Gardeners, and I want to go there next year. And, you know, whenever they grow older and they have kids of their own, they're going to always remember, you know what, that farm is beautiful. They create a nice experience, so let's go back to it. And if you guys have been following the trend, you know, back in the 70s and 80s, people were U-picking because it was cheaper and it was just a lot fresher than the grocery store's berries. If you guys follow the trend of the varieties that were, you know, in the 70s and 80s, they haven't discovered the day neutral varieties, or the varieties that, you know, are really good in cold storage. So if you were buying strawberries in the grocery store in the 70s, there were June bearing varieties, kind of like these. A majority were Chandler and other varieties like that. So they would go bad really quick. So a lot of people would U-pick because, you know, that was the only source of finding fresh fruit is on a U-pick operation. And, you know, years go by, and, you know, in the early 2000s, and now people are picking fruit on farms for the experience, because there's been such a big disconnect. You know, everybody's been moving to the cities. There's not as many farmers, so people come out here to, you know, teach your kid where the fruit comes from, but also is to, you know, create that experience for the kids and tell them exactly where the strawberries come from. So, you know, it's kind of cool to see the trend over so many years, over so many generations, and where we're up to today. And who knows, you know, whenever I'm old, I'm only 24, by the way. I consider myself old. But whenever I'm old, who knows where U-pick is going to be, you know? So it's kind of cool to see and follow that trend of U-pick farmers and seeing exactly where and what they're doing in their lifetime. So, yep, it's annual ryegrass. And like I said, grows really fast. So probably next week sometime or before we put the row covers on, we're going to have to mow this. Because if we don't mow this before we put the row covers on and cover the berries, it's going to be 3 foot tall in the spring. It's going to be a mess. So we're going to have to come out here, mow it, and then hopefully, like I mentioned in my previous videos, hopefully it doesn't get cold until about December, and then we'll have to put the row covers on there. So that's just part of the deal. But annual ryegrass is probably, in my opinion, the best grass someone can plant in between their strawberry beds. I've dealt with it. It's not too hard to manage, not too hard to deal with, and it just, like I mentioned, it just makes a beautiful, nice mat for anybody who comes out to the farm and enjoys it. Alrighty, y'all, this is gonna be it for today. If you guys haven't already, go and hit that subscribe button, smash that like button if you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget, hit that notification icon so you guys can be notified whenever I do upload a video. I want to say thanks for watching up to this point. Y'all have a good day, and we will see you next time.